This is Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by highly esteemed trainer and manager Joe Gallagher and promoter, I should add, as well. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate. Busy with the school run, just finished the school run. So, yeah, just got in now, mate. But, yeah, busy day in the gym as always. So, yeah, all good, sun shining here in Manchester.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Now, I want to start with light heavyweight division. You've got Callum Johnson coming back after quite a long time out in a couple of weeks against Igor Mihalkin. How excited are you to see him back out after the, obviously, Smith Jr. fight was cancelled back in January?
Yeah, no, really pleased to get him out. Listen, that was a killer, especially when you're seeing at the weekend. Joe Smith's performance against Beterbiev. Beterbiev was exceptional. But you just sat there thinking that should have been you, Callum Johnson, there with that rematch with Beterbiev. But like you say, it's gone, and he's got to crack on against the Igor Mihalkin. I think that's how you pronounce it. So it's a tough fight for him. And this was a fight that was scheduled to have happened just before the lockdown on the Scott Creek John O'Carroll show for the European title. So tall, rangy southpaw, and yeah, he used to be Kovalev's training partner. Lost to Kovalev with an eye injury, but yeah, he's not a bad fighter.
Now, Callum, when I spoke to him last week, said as far as he's aware, he's the only fighter as a pro that's put Beterbiev in uncomfortable situations that actually made him uncomfortable in the ring. Looking at the weekend, I know Joe Smith Jr. certainly didn't seem to make him uncomfortable at any point. Do you go along with that Callum's given him his toughest moments, if you like, as a pro?
Toughest. I don't know. I think the Marcus Brown and the huge cut he sustained in that fight was a tough moment. He's also been dropped by somebody else. And then he fought, won the WBC belt against
Vosdik.
Yes. So, listen, there's been other credible fights and opponents, but Artur Beterbiev always finds a way to win. As far as Callum Johnson, I feel the first shot that Callum got hit, there was no protection from the referee, got hit on the back of the head through the ropes. And that was it then. But the way that he came back into the fight, dropped Artur Beterbiev, and if you speak to Callum, he still regrets it to this day. He was just following him around, going, "Oh my God, I've put him on the floor," and was in shock instead of going in and finishing it. And yeah, but listen, you only get that one chance, and he let it slip. But yeah, listen, we all know Callum Johnson can punch, and it's just a shame that that rematch never happened.
Not many people expected Joe Smith Jr. to get blasted out so early in that fight, and I think most people were picking Beterbiev to win. What could he have done to maybe prolong it a bit or to work his way into the fight? What did he do wrong that saw his night end so early?
I don't think he really did anything wrong. I think Artur Beterbiev, I know people saying he's getting older, but he's getting better as well. People are talking about his power, but his skill set was very good. The shots he put together the other night, he was throwing right hands underneath the left elbow, walking him onto right hands over the top. He caught Joe Smith with his shot like he caught Callum Johnson. Goes on the back foot and walks you onto the right hand or a right hook. He throws it very well, and he caught Joe Smith a few times of the night with it. Yeah, I don't think Joe Smith did any wrong. He was just up against a very good fighter. If he would have stood back, Artur would have come and pressured him. And like I say, he carries sledgehammers in them gloves of his when he's punching. But I thought his skill set was very good last night. The other night, I thought his ring movement was very good. I've seen a few people saying they didn't think it was quick, but I thought that it was the best Artur Beterbiev we've seen the other night.
Now, his preference, I believe, from what he said at the weekend, is to unify all the belts at 175 against Dmitry Bivol. Different broadcasters, promoters make that less likely, I suppose. And I know Frank Warren's come out today saying a deal for Beterbiev and Anthony Yarde, his WBO mandatory, is pretty much there. But if it were to take place, Beterbiev and Bivol, who would your money be on?
A very good fight. I want to see that fight. That joins the list of what we're going through at the moment with Spence and Crawford as well, and Usyk and Tyson Fury. There's big fights there, juicy fights that we'd all love to see, and I'd love to see that. But we've seen promoters work in the past. We've seen Lennox Lewis ended up fighting Mike Tyson when they said it couldn't, and Mayweather De La Hoya. Them fights, they should happen, and I'm sure Beterbiev, he wants to fight Bivol. He wants unifications. Does Bivol? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Bivol's most probably thinking, I'll have a defence. Canelo fights Triple G, and he's thinking of the money. Beterbiev is thinking about the titles. He knows that if he beats him, becomes undisputed, then he'll come at Canelo if he wants to step back up again, or anyone else. Or I've seen in a few reports since over the weekend, he is considering possibly moving up to either cruiserweight, or someone said heavyweight, but cruiserweight. So, yeah, listen, that was it. I'd love to see the fight, and it's an interesting fight, but I'd much rather have to go with Artur Beterbiev in it. I know we're doing well against Canelo, but Beterbiev's a different kettle of fish.
The next up for him does look like being Anthony Yarde. I think they're saying October 22nd in London. Yarde was someone you were hoping for, perhaps, for Callum Johnson at some point this year. How much of a chance do you give Yarde at upsetting Beterbiev?
Listen, this is boxing, and when you put two men in the ring, nothing's a guarantee most of the time. And that's why we're all involved in this sport. Sometimes the huge upsets do happen when no one expects it. That's something you've only got to look back. Ali Liston, Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas. I mean, that no one expects it, do they? And that's why we're involved. AJ, Ruiz, to understand that happen. So you've always got to. Everyone's always got a chance. The two men. 2 arms, 2 legs, ahead. But you've just got to look at Beterbiev in the form that he's in at the moment. I don't think Anthony has been as busy as late, but obviously they've took confidence from the fight to Kovalev. They've got experience from that fight. It's a style that I don't think Artur Beterbiev's come up against. It'll be interesting to see how he deals with it. But I just think once he starts letting the bombs go, and it'd be interesting to see Anthony, because Anthony did very well against Kovalev. He ran out of gas. It'd be interesting to see, can he keep Artur Beterbiev at bay for 12 rounds? And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of leg movement. I don't think Anthony will be going straight for him. Maybe my emotional things, I'm with the attitude, I'm going to get you before you get me. But you've got to go with Artur Beterbiev. But I wouldn't rule Anthony Yarde out. Everyone's got a chance in boxing. He could win with a bad cut or whatever. So that's it. People saying the same thing at the moment about Paul Butler versus Inoue, but he's a world champion and he deserves his opportunity for a unification, and anything can happen.
If you were in Yarde's team, or even if you were going in with a different fighter like Callum Johnson against Beterbiev, because he looks unbeatable in the current form, but what are his potential weaknesses?
Well, his strength is, and not when talks about, is his jab. He's got an unbelievable jab. People think his jab, the power of the jab. Arthur Abraham, I remember when we were getting ready for him and we went and watched him. Arthur Abraham's jab was a ramrod jab, powerful jab, set everything off of it. And Beterbiev's jab is very solid, very strong. And you see the look on the opponents when they get hit with that jab. It's as good as their big right hand. And I think the jab, and I remember with Callum Johnson who was fighting, and was just saying, listen, you can't stand there taking that jab. You've got to have a little bit of lateral movement, keep your head. But I do feel you've got to be tight in the pocket and stay with him. Callum Johnson said to me, I feel stronger than him up close. And he was pushing him back until he walked into the right hand over the top. So, I think sometimes you can be too far out of range. But I think if you got to fight Beterbiev and you're carrying enough power with you, then you've got to sit in the pocket with him. And that's it. Otherwise, at long range and you don't carry much pop, he's eventually got to get you. But I'd fight fire with fire. If Callum Johnson had the rematch, we'd do it again.
And could that work for Yarde, do you think? I'm not saying do you predict Yarde will win, but could that be his best strategy, given he's quite a big puncher himself?
No, I think they'd most probably look to frustrate a little bit and counter, and then tight, push in close, wait for a ref to break and frustrate Beterbiev a little bit, to do speed and the variety of punches. But like I said to you the other night, I thought Beterbiev's shot selection was very good. And the only reason that the stakes could be levelled up is if Beterbiev takes his eye off the ball because he wants the Bivol fights, and everyone's telling him, oh, you'll beat that Yarde because Kovalev beat him, and he just doesn't take it serious. But looking at the man himself, he's like KHABIB of the UFC. He's just purely business, and I don't think he'll be taking Anthony Yarde lightly whatsoever.
You've got Natasha Jonas, of course, WBA super welterweight champion. How close are we perhaps to a unification fight with Hannah Rankin now?
Well, we'll hope for it. Hannah Rankin's team, they've been given a date, they've been given a venue, they've been given a career purse best, and we're just waiting for it to happen. I was going to put Natasha out in the defence quickly in May, but because of Hannah Rankin was fighting, and then they said, no, don't do it because we'll be ready to go in September. We didn't. So that's what we're waiting on for. So we don't know what the hold-up is. They've got the career best payday. Hannah Rankin has never seen money, nothing like it. She's never earned nothing like it against Savannah, Clarissa. So she's getting the best career on the biggest platform on Sky. And now we're in June. It's 10, 11, 12 weeks away in September. So she's got enough time. I don't know what the delay is on it. It's up to them to get on with it. So that's it. Hopefully it is. Tasha's chomping at the bit, and I think it is a good fight, unless they're saying they want it, but really they don't. They want to try and keep Hannah with the belt for as long as possible. But Hannah isn't going to get the money defending that belt that she's getting at the moment, that she's being offered to her anywhere else. It's huge money that she's getting, and it's her best. She never got paid as much for Savannah or Clarissa Shields. So, like I said, I don't see no reason why she isn't taking that fight.
You mentioned Paul Butler a little while ago. How impressed were you with Inouye's win in that rematch with Nonito Donaire? We had Paul on like straight afterwards live, and I know he was very impressed.
Yeah, listen, Inoue, I remember when we were up at the World Boxing Super Series in Glasgow and he fought up there, and we were hugely impressed. And when you meet him, it's like sometimes you meet all fighters, whether it's Zab Judah or the Tank, and you look at them and you think, he's that wrecking machine. It doesn't look like it, but when they're in there and got the gloves on, yeah, that's it. But I was hugely impressed with him. I thought Nonito Donaire was doing all right round one, and then he got caught with that right hand to the temple, and Inouye's finishing is first class. When he has you hurt, he won't let you go. But Paul's 100% really wants to fight, like all fighters. And some people get criticised. They want to test themselves against the best in the world, whether you're a football team, you want to play your Real Madrid, your Barcelonas. If you're UFC, you want to fight your Diaz's, your McGregors, your Khabibs. And in boxing, you want to fight your Wilders, your Joshuas, your Flores, your Triple Gs, your Canelos. You want to test yourself against the best. And Paul Butler wants to test himself against the best. He's become a two-time world champion now. And that fight is a chance for undisputed. And like I said to you there before, it's a chance for Inoue to be undisputed, but it's a chance for Paul Butler. When's Paul Butler in his career ever got to get the chance to fight for all the marbles and the ring belt and everything else? So, of course, he's worked hard. He's had a long career. He wants that opportunity. Anything can happen in a fight. Anything can happen where you dislocate the shoulder, bad cut, or anything. So it is. And yeah, all right, Inouye's the favourite. But Paul Butler isn't a world champion. He beat a very good fighter that recently, do you know what I mean, for the world title at short notice. And he went in an underdog and came out the champion. So I think there's a little bit too much disrespect thrown Paul's way and not enough credit. I don't see many other world-class fighters taking world-class fighters on in fight week and a change of opponent for vacant world titles, especially someone that's beat a world champion like Jonas had, beat Casamayor, who is still in the UK. Casamayor, which I find, yeah, I think he's living in Leeds. I think he just can't get out of the UK. He can't get a visa into America, and he can't get a visa, can't get into the Philippines because he'd be arrested. So he's here in the UK at the moment still. So I don't know what's going to happen with his career. Pardon?
Enjoying the saunas, perhaps.
Yeah, most probably. But like I said to you, for Paul, Paul's excited about the fight. He really wants to fight. We've got to have negotiations this week with Inouye's team and see where we are, and also speak to Probellum as well, Harrison Whitman and Richard Schaefer this week, and see what happens and where we're going with this.
And if it ends up with Paul having to travel to Japan, have you been to Japan to be in an away corner before?
No, the only part of that world was 2008 Beijing Olympics when I had Joe Murray over there. So, no, I've not been to Japan. No, I haven't. So it's another thing. But a ring's a ring. It doesn't matter where it is. You're seeing Devin Haney going over to Australia, and that's it. But Paul, listen, it could happen in the UK. Do you know what I mean? Inouye's are popular. I'm sure wherever Inoue fights, people want to come and watch him. He's a boxing superstar. So it may end up in America. We don't know. Obviously, Top Rank having gotten signed. So it could be anywhere. But like you say, Paul wants a chance to fight for the undisputed and all the belts, and Uwe wants to do it. I know there's talk of him moving up and fighting Fulton. There's Malone in there just coming over, a good win. There's lots of options, but we're in an era this year, and we're getting the fights at last, and hopefully these fights now, Crawford Spence has been made, and Beterbiev and Bivol happens by the end of the year. Butler and Uwe happens. The winner of Usyk and AJ fights Tyson Fury, and it'll be like a throwback to the 70s and 80s again, where everyone's fighting everyone.
Now, talking of the Usyk AJ rematch, the confirmed date and venue for that has been the big story of the week so far. I mean, it's only Monday, but still. What do you make of it heading out to Saudi? I guess we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, listen, I've been there, Saudi, with Callum Smith in the World Boxing Super Series when we beat George Groves.
That was actually in Jeddah, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Jeddah, yeah. So getting the visas, everyone needs to have a visa. They're very strict in that part of the world. It's not like Dubai or Abu Dhabi, where they're a bit more relaxed. They're very strict. So it'll be interesting to see how many tickets will go and sell and how many Brits will make it over there. I remember, I don't think George Groves' girlfriend went. I don't think Callum Smith's girlfriend went neither, because of the law and having to wear the right appropriate clothing and the religion. So be interesting to see what it is. Emotion will be full of millionaires from over that part of the world, but it's a shame, really. I would have loved to have seen it here in the UK. Usyk and AJ, whether it would have been at Old Trafford, Wembley, Tottenham, one of the big Premiership stadiums, do you know what I mean? And or Cardiff. It's just a shame it's not here, isn't it? And fans that were there first time don't get a chance to see the rematch. And it's a bit like the Ruiz rematch, mostly with Joshua thinking it's a good hunting ground for him. Maybe most of the team thought about he may be getting booed to the ring this time with Usyk, obviously going fighting for war of Ukraine. Sure. All them things may have come into play, but it seems like cash rules, cash is king, and that's what's decided both parties to go over there to Jeddah. And Usyk has travelled all over the world to fight all champions, and I don't think he'll be bothered about it.
How much of an impact, if at all, do you think the addition of Robert Garcia to AJ's team will make on the fight?
I think, obviously, Robert Garcia's experience in the big fights. I don't think he's ever trained the heavyweight, so this is something new for him. It's a challenge for him. He'll be usually motivated. The flame will be firing in his belly. And from what I hear, AJ, I think there's a few comments coming from AJ, Eddie Hearn, and stuff like a bit disrespectful to Robert McCracken and past trainers that they've had, saying it's the first time he's had a game plan. It's the first time he's doing stuff like that. And I just thought, wow, the game plan was good enough for the rematch of Ruiz and the Usyk fights and everything else. And I just think it needs to show a little bit more respect to Robert McCracken's way. But like I said, Garcia is a good coach, and he's got a huge job in his hands. And if he pulls it off, all credit to him. But we're not going to see the same Usyk who we fought first time. Usyk can adapt. So yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting fight, but I think Usyk will be the choice for me. It'll be interesting what AJ does. If he tries to pull him into a bigger fight, then I think if you remember back, I think Usyk had AJ in trouble in round 3 first time. Yeah. So
and in the last round,
it's an interesting fight. But if AJ lands, that's it. Do you know what I mean? AJ's always got that punch. But can he hold out for 12 rounds? We've seen with the Ruiz, there's a lot of holding and the officials. And but I just think Usyk is just used to fighting better level of fighters than Anthony Joshua on an amateur and on a professional stage.
Brilliant. Joe, always an insight. Really, really appreciate it. Let's catch up again soon.
And, no problem, Danny.
Brilliant. Thanks, Joe. Take care, mate.
Cheers. Thanks, mate. Thank you, pal. Bye-bye.